Hey, yo, you know who it is, you know what it is. It's Rich Bees back again. The real Rich Bees, you know what I'm saying? What's going on? Listen, we're here today because what I've realized is some people aren't taking risk, and other people are taking the wrong risks. We had a stream a day ago, well, a couple days ago, and in that stream, when we were talking, what I realized was some people are scared of risks, right? And some people also act like risk only show up when you're moving, right? When you're doing something. But I posit this. This is what I think. I think that even staying where you are is a risk, right? That's my personal belief. If you feel different, jump in the chat. But some people literally are playing it safe, right? But playing it safe is also a risk. If you wait, that too is a risk, right? So the real thing that you have to figure out is which risk is worth choosing, right? Like if I'm gonna go do something and it's a risk to do it, right? That might be worth it because if I wait, that risk might not be worth it. I may end up losing opportunity, right? That's what I was talking about on the other stream, right? I could end up losing opportunity because I chose to wait or I chose to not move. I chose to not do the thing that I knew I wanted to do. That all of that is a risk, right? I wrote a song, and this song was on which album was it? I'm about to tell you. Hold on one second. I'm gonna tell you exactly which album it was. But I wrote a song, and that song was called Dice. That's what it is. The song is called Dice. Dice is on the album Create Change. Okay? Dice is on the album Create Change. In that song, basically what I'm trying to get out is everything that you do is a roll of the dice, right? That's risk, right? Because I can roll those dice and then crap out. You know what I'm saying? Crap out. Listen, if I'm rolling the dice with anything that I do, right, then it's either I'm going to win or I'm going to not win. Not winning doesn't necessarily mean losing because it's not a competition, but it is a risk. A risk for can you reach your value, a risk for can you reach your intended goal, a risk for is this going to, get me in the area that I wanted to be in? Is this going to help build my life? Is this going to grow me? Right? Because even the risk of learning new information, like there's a risk in learning new information, right? Because once I know something, then I'm held accountable for it, right? So there's a risk in that because that accountability that now I have to take ownership of because I know something new puts me at risk. You know what I'm saying? I may have to do something just because now I know. I may have to change something because now I know, right? I didn't know before. You can't well you can be you can be held accountable for things you don't know. You can be. You shouldn't be, but you can be. Because once you know something, once you know a thing, you have to do something with that information, right? You can choose to keep the information, store it away, never do anything with it, and just hold it, right? That can be challenging in some instances, right? It can make you feel like you're keeping secrets in some instances, right? In some instances, holding information can end up putting your body or your health at risk, right? So today only, we're talking about risks. That's what we're on. All right. So because I want to talk about risks, right? I really did a deep dive into just the whole understanding of risks. Okay. So we're going to walk that out today. We're going to walk that out. How are we going to do that? Where are we starting? Because I've given you a lot already right off the rip, right? Right off the beginning. I've put a challenge out there that almost everything you do is like a dice game, right? If I had the dice sound I wrote, it was on the song though. It was on the song though. If you haven't heard that song though, it's called Dice, right? That's the point that I'm getting across in that song is risk, right? Here's the thing. Go now over to my website, right? richbees.com/links. Head over there and you'll see music. You'll see it on Spotify. You'll see the link on YouTube. You see the link to all my music in different places that you can go get and listen. Okay, you can go listen to it. You can stream it. If you want to download it, you can download it. Right, it's up for purchase. Whatever. Just go listen to that song called Dice. It's on my third album called Create Change. It's song number Dice is song number 3, I think. Yeah. Bam. I know my music. So go listen to that song Dice on the album Create Change by Rich Bees, RICHBZ, right there at the ending part, right? Go listen to that song because I'm telling you right now, that song's about risk and it gives you a different perspective of risk. Okay? Now, back to our regularly scheduled programming, people. All right, how are we going to do this? Let's start off talking about, and yes, I'm wiping my face. Why am I wiping my face? Because this topic can be started from several different ways, okay? I can come at this from this angle. I can come at this from that angle. Either one can be a risk in whether or not you guys are going to get the information, right? As we're doing this, though, I'm going to more than likely, like I always do, go off script a little bit. And as I'm going off script, going off topic, I'm going to get some new understanding, even as I'm communicating this, not just for you, but also for me. Okay? Remember, if I'm going to give information, I need to be willing to take the information. Right? So jump in the chat if you hear something that we're talking about that kind of, makes you ask a question, or if you want to get more clarification, then I invite you to jump in the chat. All right? Now, here we go. I think personally that some people, who's these some people, right? But I think that some people, matter of fact, could it be majority of people? Would I say that? Would I say majority of people? Maybe. I might say majority of people. They only respect one side of risk, right? Let's talk about that. Risk. They may think that risk is starting something, right? They may think that a risk can be spending money, right? They may think that a risk might be putting yourself out there, right? What does that mean? Like trying to get a boyfriend or a girlfriend or something, like that's risk. Like I'm risking myself by putting myself out there and saying I want a relationship, right? Some people might think that risks is when you are going in one direction, but then you end up changing and going a different direction, right? They think that risks are trying something new, right? Trying something bold. You know what I'm saying? Like, okay, I'm gonna go bungee jump. You know what I'm saying? Is that a risk? Yes. Is it the only type of risk? No. Right? Because the other side of that is when if you don't start something, if you don't invest that money in that thing, right? If you don't put yourself out there, shake some hands, you know what I'm saying? If you don't change directions, if you don't try something new, right? That also is a risk, right? Keeping your life exactly the same way it is a risk. So the conclusion that we can come to right off the rip is you're risking something either way. Either way. You know what people say? I ain't gonna say it, but you okay, I'm gonna say it this way. But you if you do and you if you don't. Right? A lot of people say that. Because it's a risk, it's risk involved, right? Now the issue is not the risk itself. I don't think that the issue is the risk itself. The issue is what kind of risk am I willing to take? What kind of risk am I taking? Right? Because not all risks are the same. Not all risks are equal. You know what I'm saying? Some risks build you up. Some risks stretch you. Right? Some risks grow you. Some risks move your life forward. Right? This is what I'm talking about when I say that risks are going to happen either way. What's going on, Moondot Gaming? Good to see you. Glad you can make it today. We're talking risks, right? So other risks, right? If we have risks that build you, stretch you, grow you, move your life forward, then there are other risks too, right? Those risks are like draining people, right? Risks that'll drain you. There's risks that'll also embarrass you. Risks that'll waste your time. Risks that are truly just ego. Risks that come in from impulse and risks that fear kind of like puts you in a bad place. Okay? I'm doing good. Bro. We deep in this conversation now, talking about this risk. You know what I'm saying? Are you willing to take risks? Do you take risks? Because what I think is, it doesn't matter who you are. Everybody take risks. Thanks for the follow, bro. I appreciate it. Thanks for the follow, for real. We almost reached our goal. We almost hit our 50. We going for it, right? We're going for it. So thank you for joining in, and I appreciate you. Make sure that you keep coming around. We're becoming better versions of ourselves. That's what we're doing here, right? And so as we continue on the topic of risks, right, there's a difference between wise risks and foolish risks, right? Definitely I'm on Discord. You know what I'm saying? So if you think about these risks come in many different forms, right? Now, for me, this is a little bit different. It hits different for me because my whole life got risks in it, right? Everything I do is a risk, especially as I'm trying to push forward, right? If matter of fact, in the chat, if you go ahead and type in exclamation Discord, you can connect with the Discord. All right. So here you go. Right now, I do music, right? And I know everybody knows if you put out music, that's a risk. That's a risk, right? Because for multiple reasons. Here's one of the reasons, right? I can create something, I can create a song, and it's really personal to me, right? It's really personal, and I'm pouring out my feelings in this song, and then I put it out in front of the world, right? People are gonna judge it. You know what I'm saying? People are gonna judge it. No, nope, nope. I'm not streaming on YouTube and Tick and Kick. No, no. I upload videos to the YouTube, right, off of these lives, but I don't stream directly to YouTube anymore. I started at the beginning, and then I was like, nah, I'd rather be able to control that content, right? It was a risk for me to put out to stream on both platforms. It was a risk, and it was a risk that I took, and then was like, it's not worth it to me because I can't control what I'm putting on YouTube, and YouTube is now my archive for my lives in a way that I can control that. All right, so here we go. When I'm putting out music, music really like it's personal, right? Music is personal. It's art. It's something that you create that is your essence at that moment, in that moment of time, right? Music is art for the air. That's what the saying. Music is art for the air. You don't post it on a wall. You know what I mean? Music is for the air. Okay? So, exactly. So here's the thing. That's just one version of the risk, right? Of getting judged by putting out the music. But then there's a whole nother risk associated with it, right? I could put out a song, but will anybody listen to it? Right? Will anybody even listen to the song? It's a risk. I could pour in a lot of time, a lot of effort, a lot of money, right, into equipment, into what do you call it? The production of it, quality, instruments, all that kind of stuff. I put in all this front loaded only for nobody to listen to it. Right? That's a risk that you take. Okay? That's a risk that I take. And I take that almost every year. Every year since 2020, I've been taking that risk. Putting out whole albums and singles. Right? Matter of fact, I'm working on a new album. So I told you guys, like, keep coming because during the day, when I stream anytime around this 10, 12 o'clock time frame, Eastern Standard, what happens is I'm going to do this type of content. This is the content that I do, which is the content of us becoming better versions of ourselves as we continue to show up for the people around us and for our own self. When we look at the streams that I do in the evening or on the weekends, those streams for the next foreseeable future are most likely, because the one last night wasn't, but most likely is going to be creating music and recording the music live on stream. That's what I'm doing, okay? And we had a couple bangers, like, you know, when I did it, last week? It was last week sometime where we created the first song on the album. You know what I'm saying? Those songs won't be for you to go back and look at though, because when I do those lives, I'm not going to publish them again anywhere. I do keep them because I might put them out after the album comes out, but I'm not going to publish them for it to be played and played again. If you see the live, make sure you get on so you don't miss it. You know what I'm saying? So you don't miss it. You could be a part of the creation of this music, because the last time I had, you know, people come on and they were giving me ideas and like, okay, why don't you, well, hey, maybe we could do, you know what I'm saying? We were locking in. I was trying to do the song without messing up. You know what I mean? Like it was really fun time. It was a really fun time. But all of that is a risk, because even me doing my music live is a risk. Somebody can come on and take my song, right? Somebody can come on and jump in and like, ooh, I like that beat. Ooh, I'm about to make one like that, and then put out the song before I finish my album, right? They might just put it out as a single. So it's a risk. All of it's risks involved, no matter what you do. But my thing is, I want to create a community, right? I want to create a community of people who like the type of content that I'm providing, because even in my music, I big people up. I try to lift people up in a way that is not necessarily, you know, Bible and scripture. It's not necessarily, you know, motivational, but it's through storytelling. I'm giving little bits and pieces that help you to grow, to understand life in a different way, to look at the name of my albums, right? My first album is called Perspectives. My second album is called In My Mind. My third album is called Create Change. My fourth album is called Whether Good or Bad. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna do more in the Discord, but we just kind of started the Discord. You know what I mean? Discord hasn't really caught on much, and I think that might just be based on the type of people and the type of thing that I'm putting out in the world. I don't think a lot of them, people that have Discords that are within the audience that I'm really talking to. Not yet. Hopefully they will. You know what I mean? Hopefully they'll get into it. Because again, not the community just on Discord though. It's the community right here, right? On the lives. It's the community that we're doing through the music. It's the community that we're doing through just the connection and growth, right? But all of this is risks, right? It's all risks, right? Think about it. Like, I build business apps, right? I build apps and I build businesses. I do both. And so those are huge risks, right? Huge risks in time, money, effort, energy, long nights, uncertainty, right? Is the business going to work? Is the business going to fail? Like, all of that stuff comes into play. It's all a risk. I mean, as a matter of fact, me just being on this live, me just going live every day is a risk. Talking in real time, right? Trying to be honest, trying to help people, right? Not always knowing how it's going to land, how somebody's going to take what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying? That's a risk. So, but I'll tell you this thing that I know. I know firsthand. This is me. I know this to be true. You can't build anything meaningful, anything with meaning and substance without a risk. There will be a risk, right? Interesting. You specialize in that? Okay. That's what's up. That's what's up. What I know at this moment is that I'm having, when I build the community, the Discord will grow with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not trying to put the cart in front of the horse. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah. I need the things that I'm doing to grow as the channel grows, as the following grows, as the community grows, then these things will get better over time. All right. It makes no sense to have, you know what I'm saying? Like, this is a huge risk. If I have, let's say a Bugatti, right? I got a Bugatti, and yet I don't have my license yet. You know what I'm saying? I got a Bugatti and I don't even have enough money to get an oil change, right? Like, I think all of this stuff kind of builds upon itself, right? That's why I'm not really a person that judges people who don't have certain things, right? I'm looking at the content, I'm looking at the character, I'm looking at whether or not they are putting in the time, are they consistent with what they're doing? If they're doing all of that, then they'll grow. If they grow, I'll be a part of it. If they, you know what I mean? Like, and we'll build it together. A lot of people kind of like that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Okay. I mean, jump in the Discord, leave some messages. You know what I'm saying? We can start to have that conversation. But even that, it's all a risk, right? Because today we're talking risks. And if you notice, like for me, and you look at my chat rules, like I really like to try to stay on topic because some of the side stuff can get off topic. So let's stay on the risk topic, right? If you have some things to join in and provide on this risk topic, let's talk about it. You know what I'm saying? You got some questions for me on that? Because at this point, right, what I know is that some people won't move until everything feels safe, right? They don't want to even put out a risk. They don't want to do anything that's going to cause them to get into any kind of risk, right? My suggestion is, though, that you have to, if you're going to do anything worth it in life, it will definitely come with a risk. It'll come with a risk, right? We can look back in history and look at people who have done anything great. They've had to put risk out there, right? It came with a lot of risk, and a lot of people have lost their lives because of the risk, right? Some people have, got to the upper echelon of the thing and then end up, losing their life or going to jail or whatever. Everything comes with risk. You know what I'm saying? But the only thing is that if you're going to take a risk, there's certain things that have to come into play, right? You have to use wisdom. You have to plan appropriately. You have to discern whether the risk is worth it, right? It all, if you take the wrong risks, it can put you in a bad spot in your life. You know what I'm saying? And that is a total fact, right? If you think about it, there are people who will never start a business because they're waiting on the perfect timing. Yep. Yep. My music is everywhere. As I said, go to richbees.com/links and you can get to all of the links of where the music is. Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music. It's on all streaming platforms. All right. There's what I said is there are people out there who start businesses or that don't start businesses because they're waiting on the perfect time, right? There's other people out there that will start things with no plan and burn out, right? There's other people who will never, ever tell the truth in a relationship because they're scared of they're scared of that conversation, right? They're scared of that opposition is the word I'm looking for, right? And there's other people out there who everything, it doesn't matter for them. It's the wrong time, right? It's the wrong time. It's the wrong way. And they won't move because they're scared it's going to blow up, right? But I'm trying to tell you that safe is not always smart, right? And moving fast to get things done is not always wise. And it's because there is always a risk. That risk could be hidden. That risk can be right there in your face. But there will be a risk associated whichever way you go, right? So let's ask ourselves the question, because we're trying to figure out risk, right? Is the thing that I'm dealing with or the thing that I'm going to do or the thing that I want to do, can I manage that risk, right? Some people may ask the question, well, what could go wrong if I do it, right? That might be the only question that they end up asking. Well, what could go wrong if I do it, right? But there's another question that you can ask yourself, right? Which is, well, what could go wrong if I don't do it? You know what I'm saying? Because there's always two sides to the coin. There's always two sides to the coin. It's never just one-sided. There's two sides to every coin, right? Because if you don't ever do it, then that could become wasted potential. You may have regret that you didn't do it, right? Later on, it comes back around, right? You may end up being, a small fish when you're supposed to grow to be a big fish. You may end up staying dependent on your family. You might end up staying dependent on the type of income you currently have coming from the source that you currently have. And then you'll always be dependent on that source. So if that source ever dries up or if that source never is there anymore, you're stuck, right? Now you've calculated that risk incorrectly, right? Not to mention, you'll never find out what was possible, right? You'll never find out what was possible in your life if you don't do a thing, right? But I'm just saying, like, if I never say it, right? So if I'm supposed to say something to somebody, but I'm scared of the risk, if I never say it, then what do I have, right? I'm risking misunderstanding. I'm risking distance. I'm risking resentment. I'm risking broken trust, right? Because I never said it, and I could have just said it. You see it on movies a lot, right? On movies, you see it a lot where people will they will try to have a conversation with somebody and they're scared to say it, so they end up just changing the subject, right? They change the subject, or they play it off, or they, maybe say part of it but don't really get into the details, or the other person cuts them off and then they just never say it, right? And that's just because it was a risk for them. They didn't feel like the risk to say it was worth it, right? But what about this one? What about if I never leave an environment that is wrong for me, right? Because there was times even back in my life that I've been in environments that I should have left earlier, right? I should have known that I should not keep myself in that situation, but I did, right? I end up getting in trouble, right? Finding myself, getting arrested, right? Because I didn't leave the environment, and I could have left, and I had the feeling that I should have left, but I didn't, right? I started feeling stuck, right? Stuck in that environment. That's what I like when I was talking about in a previous stream. We were talking about the whole where I used to live, and at that time, it just wasn't popping for me. It didn't matter what I did. That town was not popping. I couldn't get it to work for me, so I had to leave. Right? I had to leave, and as soon as I left, doors started opening. Things started happening. Right? It was a risk to leave though, because I could have got to the next town and got the same thing. But that's not what happened, right? But I could venture, I could theorize that if I stayed where I was, then I probably would have still kept getting the same thing, right? Basically, I'd be losing time, right? Losing time and normalizing that type of thought process of, you're no good. You're never going to get hired. You're never going to get opportunity. Like, you're not good enough. You don't have enough. Like all of that kind of thing, right? Like, so I think that we have to not only take into account the risk of movement, right? Of going to do the thing, but we have to also take into account the cost of staying the same, right? Not risking the thing, not risking doing the thing. And a lot of people are missing that because they only think about that side of, well, if I go do it, but they don't think about if I don't, if I don't, what then? What am I going to become? What am I going to have? What am I going to be able to achieve if I don't do it? Because the answer pretty much is always going to be the same thing. You're going to continue to get the same thing. Or this is what a wise man once told me. If you're not growing, then you're dying. Think about that, right? Like sit on that. Sit on that. If you're not growing, then you're dying. Wild work. Wild work. Right? That's the same thing as if you look at a business, right? And the business is doing this, and then all of a sudden you get to a point of plateau, right? Where my income is kind of just keep going the same or whatever. Everything else is going to continue to grow, right? Things around it are going to continue to grow. And so if your income is doing this staying consistent because you don't want to rock the boat. I don't want to lose no money. But the standard of living keeps going up. You don't even realize it, but you're slowly dying. You don't even realize it. You know what I'm saying? This is a concept that was hard to understand at first, right? Because when somebody first said it to me, I was like, what? What do you mean if you're not growing, you're dying? But I get it now, because if you stay consistent, the world is changing, right? Income is going up. The amount of money it takes to live is constantly going up. It's almost never going to go down. So if you latch on to, and that's why, okay, let's talk about retirement, right? When people say they're retiring and they get a check, okay, let's say they get a check, whatever that check may be. That check may be for $3,000 a month, right? You retired, they paying you for the rest of your life $3,000 a month. If that money you're sitting on, it might be good at first, right? When you first got out and they started paying you the $3,000, it might be good. You might feel real good about that $3,000 they're paying you, right? Oh, I ain't got to do nothing. I'm retired. I can just chill. But the value of that dollar is going to continue to go down, right? So if you're getting paid $3,000, but everything around you, price goes up, inflation and all that kind of stuff at 3%, 4% a year, then soon that $3,000 gonna be worth the same thing as $1,000, and you ain't gonna be able to afford your life. That's the reason why I'm saying, like, you still got to get out there and take risks, because you're risking by not doing anything. You're risking by staying in the same place that you currently are. You're risking thinking that that bread is going to always be the value of what that bread was when you got it, and it won't. Life is going to end up getting harder because you're not willing to go out there and do something different. It doesn't matter whether you retire. There's way that should be the catalyst for you to change gears. That should be if you retired in an instance and they're paying you for the rest of your life a certain amount of money, then that could be the catalyst for you to start a business. That could be the catalyst for you to go out and make another move, right? You might start playing in real estate. You might start playing in I don't know. Shoot, there's a whole lot of things. You know what I'm saying? There's a whole lot of things out there that you can start playing in. You might start playing in investments. You might start playing in, altcoins, bitcoins and stuff like that. Like, and I'm not saying that you got to be a massive trader, but I'm just saying, like, go invest some things. Figure out a way to make that money make you more money. Because if they're already paying you $3,000 a month, then there's other things that you can do to start making that money grow. You know what I'm saying? Because obviously you don't have no other way to make income, right? So you got to do something, because it's costing you if you don't, right? It's a risk to not do anything, right? And I think that's where a lot of people are really, really missing it. They're really, really missing it because they feel like, oh, well, I got this retirement check, so I'm good. You're not. You're not. You know what I'm saying? And that means that you're going to have to do something uncomfortable, right? You got to step out there and do something that you probably don't want to do. Well, okay, here's the thing. I'm going to put it in a better context. If you retired and you got the 3,000, right? You got the 3,000 coming in, boom, 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 boom. Month after month after month, they feeding you that 3Gs. That's good for a time, right? Probably the first year that 3,000 is going to feel good because you don't have to work, but you got this 3,000 coming in. If you don't do something, meaning start to figure out ways that you can start to increase that money, right? As it comes in, it's either getting invested. As it comes in, it's either getting applied to some sort of growth potential business or something, right? Something. Then what happens is, once that money is not worth 3,000 anymore, and your life is now more expensive than that 3,000, now you're going to end up being forced to do something that you don't want to do. You're going to be forced to do something uncomfortable, right? But why get there? If you choose from the gate because you understand the principle of risk, then what you'll do is you might take a month or two off where you don't work, right? Because you're retired. So let me get my relax on. But in that relaxing time, that 1 to 2 months, you should be thinking of some new opportunities. You should keep your ears to the street and say, what new things are out here, right? What's the next phase of my life that I can invest in, so that way I'm not forced to go do something that I don't want to do. Because what is that force? That force might be now you have to be a greeter in front of Walmart, right? At 80 years old, right? That force might be that you might have to go start working construction. That force might be that you might have to start being somebody's maid, right? At a elderly age, right? So that's why I'm saying make the decision now to continue to find ways to increase your revenue. Continue to choose to find ways that build you up. Growth internal, right? Because then that's expressed outside, right? So let's say, okay, you got your retirement check, whatever, you got the money coming in, cool. Now you have an opportunity that you can possibly, let's say, if you're watching this, you understand going live. You might not understand how to do it, but the fact of the matter is, you know what it looks like, right? There's a lot of people who are out there, who will go and let's say they like plants, and so they're always dealing with plants, right? They stream that kind of stuff, and people watch it. You might set up a stream that's only pointed at your dog, right? And you create a dog stream, and people make hundreds of thousands of dollars a year with a dog stream, with a cat stream, with a stream that might, I don't know, show their neighborhood. You got people who will just sit on the stream giving you money, basically, right, from advertising dollars and all that kind of stuff. You can sell your wares now, because a lot of people, once they retire, they start doing things like crocheting. They start doing things like whittling away at wood and take up a hobby or stuff like that. You can get paid from that hobby, right? And I'm not saying that you got to make it a job. I'm just saying that you can do things to bring in additional revenue that starts you to get up off that continuous money, because that continuous money starts to go down in value. So you have to keep adding more money to the pot. And the only way you're going to do that is to do something, right? And going live, starting content creation, right? Learning a new skill, right? Asking somebody. You can come on this live, jump in the chat and ask for some help. What opportunities do you think I can have? Give me a little bit of your story. We can figure it out together. You know what I mean? But you have to keep trying, even if one of them don't work. Even if you go and you put it out there, right? You put out the risk of trying something new, and let's say that one doesn't work. Okay, no harm, no foul. Let's find something else, right? Something else that suits you. You never know what it is until you try it, right? If you're thinking about a business, like, I know you have an idea, right? You have an idea. That idea may be workable, that we could turn it into a business, right? I had an idea for to create graphic designs, photography, video, music, basically a production house, right? Where a client can come to me and all in one shop, they can get all of it done. Right? Whatever you need to either market yourself. Now, I don't do marketing, right? My company does not do marketing, but what we do is create all the things to help you to market yourself. So we can create your commercials, we can create we can create music videos, we can create your online identity, right? By creating your flyers, by creating your all of it. We can already do that. That's my company. I've owned it for the last 20 years. Right? But I just believed that I could, and then I went and did something about it. right? Investing, that's something that you can do. It'll bring in money. You can go and you can go right now and get you a Cash App and start investing in Bitcoin. You can start investing in stocks. You can go get you a Robinhood account and you can do the same thing. They even have 401ks in there and everything. You know what I'm saying? So you can start putting money in a 401k. A lot of people who are retired already have money in 401k, but you can switch it over to maybe Robinhoods because Robinhoods may have a higher interest rate on their 401ks. Who knows? But I'm just saying that always be thinking, well, how can I make this grow? Right? It's a twofold thing. It's how can I make myself grow, right? How can I grow internally? And then how can I grow my money? Right? How can I grow myself? How can I grow my family? How can I grow my money? Those are the three things that you should be worried about growing, right? And I would venture to add a fourth in there. How can I help myself become closer to God? Right? And I said it in that order. Why? Because the last shall be first. So first, figure out how you can become closer to God. Then, how can you grow yourself? How can you grow your money? How can you grow your family? Flip that one because I said it backwards. But you have to realize that even if you were to do any of the above, right? There are a lot of people who may have done the above, but they have not launched it. They have not let people know. They have not told people that they are open for business, that they have their doors open. They have not done that. Why? Because they're not willing to take the risk. Even though they already did the work, they think it's not the right time, right? They haven't even tested it because they don't want nobody to know yet, because it's not perfect, right? No, there's never going to be a perfect time. What you created will never be perfect, right? We're humans, we're flawed. There's no perfect to it. All there is you tried, you did something, and you put it out there. I do these lives almost every day, especially every weekday, and they're not perfect, right? No. And I'm not looking for perfection. I'm just trying to do the best I can, right? With what I have to work with. The more I have to work with, the bigger the community is, the better we can make the streams. So we continue to grow this number right here, right? We continue to grow this number, the streams will get better, right? Because everything should build upon itself, right? If I front load all the work, then what is it to build a community? What is community building if I front loaded all the work? I don't jump in the chat. Tell me about that. Tell me about that. Because I don't see anything successful that somebody has front loaded all the work. They do just enough to make the idea viable, right? So you can get a sense of the direction in which they're going. If I can convince you of the direction that I'm going, and I can say, hey, I'm going to do this every day, and you keep coming back, and I'm going to keep giving you more topics, more ways that you could become a better version of yourself, right? Then if you keep coming back, that's what you're looking for, right? That's the type of content you're looking for. Why are you looking for it? Because that's what I said that this mission was, right? And if you can agree with the mission and get behind the mission, then what happens? A rising tide raises all boats, right? So if I'm consistent because of the base that I created, then we can continue to make it better together, right? We just had it in the chat. He said, hey, I'm a Discord specialist, right? And a Twitch channel manager. That's what Mondot said, right? Which is great. Do I need that right now? I don't know. Why? Because is the channel big enough for it? You know what I'm saying? Because I'm not willing to front load the work before the channel is ready for it. I'd rather the channel grow and then I'll have a need for it. right? It's not necessarily, some people say, oh, well, that's working behind the eight ball. No, it's not. No, it's not. Because what happens is, if I build it, I may be building something that none of my audience wants, right? They may come to me for let's say I told you I'm doing music in the evenings and on the weekends, and I'm doing this type of content during the day. Let's say people come to and see me during the day, they end up seeing one of my music streams and they're like, oh, that's the kind of content I want. But everything else I'm doing is not that, right? The community that I built is not that. What do I do with that, right? On the Discord, that means that I need an area that's going to be strictly for music, right? For all the people who are coming for the music. But then, let's say after that, my next thing I know I'm about to do is start shooting a movie, right? I already have that planned. We're working on some of the stuff on that right there. So if I'm starting to shoot the movie and now I'm showing IRL of behind the scenes, right? BTS stuff of filming this movie, there may be some people that come on board for that, right? So then I have to have an area for that. So because I know these things are coming, do I already go ahead and build all of that before I even have the people there that want that type of content, that want that type of community base? I don't think so. I think that they're going to ask for it, right? They're going to say, hey, why don't we have a space for movies? Since we're doing movies, we need a space for movies so we can have some movie content. Okay, let's do it, right? Then we need a person that can do the design and building of the Discord for that area and, make it all look good. So all I'm saying is all of this stuff is a risk, but we have to be able to manage the risk, right? And even me right now, being honest in this situation, right? Communicating with you guys, being vulnerable, that's hard, right? There's a risk involved, right? There's a risk involved because I'm saying it, but just because I'm saying it doesn't necessarily mean that it may be. I'm saying it because this is what I believe, but what I believe will be. But the thing about it is, people are going to hold me now accountable for the things that I've said, right? So there's risk involved. You know what I'm saying? I'm just trying to communicate this in the most real way possible, right? Okay, all right. Let's talk about foolish risks, okay? Doing something just because it feels good in the moment, just because it feels bold. It feels like, oh, we're going to win in the moment, right? That's the same thing as like spending money and not having a thought about it, right? Making emotional decisions. And we've talked about that on a previous stream. We said, you shouldn't be led by your emotions because that's when rash decisions are made, right? If and we were just talking about this, if I move with the wrong people, that too can be a foolish risk, right? A foolish risk is moving with people who don't have themselves together or understand the mission that you're called to do, right? Not saying that they're bad people. I'm saying they're the wrong people for what you're doing, right? If you just go out there and jump on a limb without even understanding what you're jumping into, that might be a foolish risk, right? Because not every risk deserves your life, your time, your money, your peace. Not every risk deserves that. And so I'm just trying to get across, like, you have to know whether the risk is worth it, right? And to know whether a risk is worth it means you have to ask yourself some questions. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm gonna take a risk by starting a new thing, by going and doing something, by saying something to someone, by going to see or going to do something, then I'm telling you right now, you have to ask yourself questions. What kind of question do I ask myself, right? So I had to think about it. One of the questions that I asked myself is, what am I actually risking? If I do this thing, what am I actually risking? If I don't do the thing, what am I actually risking? Right? Okay. So I figure that out and then I say, you know what? Okay, if I do the thing, what am I actually gonna gain? Right? Because that tells a tale of whether it's worth it, right? Is there enough worth? Can I find enough value in doing that thing for me to risk whatever it is I'm risking, right? Then I feel like I should, not I should, but I have to ask myself, like, if I'm risking this thing and I'm trying to gain this thing, is this me building or growing something? Or is it me just feeling like I need this thing or I want to do this thing without this one is a hard one to explain. So I'm trying to figure like, am I really trying to build something or am I just following an emotion? That might be the better way to say it, right? Am I trying to build something, grow something, or does it just feel right? Right? Like, does it just feel good? If it just feels good, then that risk might not be worth it, right? Might not be worth it because the feeling is in the moment. You know what I'm saying? It could feel good right now, but after I do it, it might not feel good anymore. So is what I'm doing building something? Because if it's building something, then it more than likely might be worth it, right? If what I'm building is worth it, right? And that leads me to say, like, am I building it based on wisdom or am I building it based on emotion, right? What happens if I don't do anything and I just let it ride? I just let it slide, right? Can I survive? Can I survive without doing anything? Because what is that? That's going down, right? We talked about that. If I do nothing, then eventually it starts to taper off, right? I think one of the more important questions that I have to ask myself is, does this actually line up with who I'm trying to become? That's why we're here, right? Is what I'm risking or the thing that I'm going to risk for, does it line up with who I'm becoming and I'm working, if consistently on, right? Because I don't think the goal is to be like fearless. I think the goal is to be wise, right? Wise in our decisions, right? We don't want to be foolish either. We want to be wise in everything we do. We have to move from the point of wisdom. We have to ask ourselves questions and then we have to act on those answers. Yes, you should answer yourself. If you ask yourself a question, you need to answer yourself. Right? You have to settle that. You have to settle that question. And to settle it, that means you have to provide yourself an answer. Some people are like, why are you talking to yourself? Because who else am I supposed to talk to? I'm supposed to talk to me. Right? I need to ask myself questions so myself can answer them, and then I can make a valid decision. Right? A decision that's going to be worth it for me. A decision that I can stand behind what I'm saying. I can be the person who I say I'm going to be, right? I can stand strong behind the words that I choose to use. Why? Because I've already thought about it, right? And I've already settled it. I answer my own question, right? So if I'm being honest, sometimes like things get delayed because, I may have not been willing to risk something that if I ask myself the question, right? Those questions, if I ask myself those questions, then it would have been worth it based on me understanding more about what it was that I was getting out of it, what I was trying to gain, what I was actually going to risk if I did it, and then whether or not I was moving out of growth or whether I was moving out of my own emotion and feeling like, oh, this is some great thing, right? But I think that sometimes I might have delayed it also because I didn't want to look crazy, right? Like I ain't trying to look crazy. If I go and do this, if I go put this outfit on, right, and go run out here, um, and spin this sign on the corner, right, to say come get your furniture, right? I'm looking crazy. You know what I'm saying? But is what I is that person who is spinning that sign actually they found a winning technique. If they're a person that likes to dance all the time, if they're a person that likes to, jump around, they got a lot of energy. If they're a person that likes music and they can set the Bluetooth speaker up on the corner and just dance around and spin a sign all day, right? If the person was a spun a baton, or what's it called? It's called a baton, right? I think it's called a baton. Whatever it's called, put dancers in like the band in the front, right? That spin the twirl the thing, right? That might be the type of thing they want to do. Cause who knows how much that person gets paid for standing out there? I don't know, but it might be worth it for them. You know what I'm saying? But yet you think that they're looking crazy. They may like what they're doing. You know what I'm saying? Because it wasn't on you to risk that. It was on them. And if they thought it was worth the risk, then they did it. You know what I'm saying? Definitely in the future. Definitely in the future. Right now, I'm just aiming for uh um affiliate, right? That's where I'm going. Take one goal at a time, you know what I'm saying? But it's like I don't know, you know. I be thinking that sometimes maybe I didn't spend enough time thinking about the thing, right? I didn't think about it long enough to find out, what is it costing me, right? Does it cost me to sit still? Does it cost me to hesitate? Does it cost me to wait, right? Because even in the conversation that we're having right now, it took me a while to get to even covering this topic, right? I knew I was going to cover this topic a while back, but I didn't cover this topic because what do I have to gain from this one, right? From risk. I don't think that. No, let me tell you. I don't want to talk about what I don't think. I want to talk about what I think. What I think is that all of us gain something out of this topic. Why? Because if we don't understand what risk is, then we'll never know what we could become. Right? We'll never put ourselves out there in the right ways. There are people that will put themselves out there, but it's the wrong way because they didn't think about what they were risking and what they really wanted to see grow in this world, right? Because and that's why I'm saying, like, when I ask myself those questions, I'm just more so trying to figure out, right? Like, is the risk worth it for me to do it? Is the risk gonna get me to where I want to be? Is the risk going to help me to grow to be a better version of myself? Is the risk going to enable me to make connections that I never would have made before? Right? All of that is, and I can make it shorter questions, right? Shorter questions. Is this courageous or is it careless? Right? Is this aligned with my purpose or is it impulsive? Right? Is this the right next move for me? Or am I just moving because I feel like I need to do something? right? Is this helping me to build the life I want, or is it causing me to stay stagnant where I currently am, which I don't want to be anyway, right? So I'm trying to tell you right now, don't only ask yourself, what can I lose? Ask yourself, what do I lose by staying here where I'm at? And if we can get that in our heads, if we can get that understanding, then at the end of the day, we will have a total like understanding that there is no life without risk. Risk is everywhere. Risk is the same thing as change. Change is consistent, and with that change comes risk. Change and risk go hand in hand. So if change is consistent, then that means risk is consistent. Right? You risk something when you move. You risk something when you wait. You risk something when you speak. You risk something when you stay quiet. You risk something when you build. You risk something when you play small. There's no point in avoiding risk. Everything is a risk. The main issue is you just need to choose, right? You need to choose if the risk matches your growth, your purpose, the timing, and your values, right? Why? Because you're risking something either way. So just make sure the risk that you choose, you can stand behind, and that the risk that you choose has a future in it. Don't take a risk if you see no future in it, if you can't stand behind it, or it ends up putting you in a position that you don't want to be in. Now you can judge it. That's all I'm saying. And that's all the stream was about. Being able to judge whether or not it's worth it for me to take this risk, or should I stay where I'm at? Because either way, you're risking something. And it's not on me to tell you which way to choose it. To say, go take that risk. It's not on me to tell you that. Not on Rich Bees, not at all. Don't put it on me, homeboy. It's on you to judge those risks based on your values, based on the things that you want to see in your life. It's not on me. I can't tell you. All I can do is tell you how to think it through, right? To think through the decision. And that's why I came up with the level decision-making framework, right? Go back and look at that video. You can go to the YouTube, right? Go to the YouTube, The Real Rich Bees, and you'll see a video on there called the Level, Level, Decision-Making Framework. Go watch that video. If I can do this right, it'll show up after this video is over on YouTube. But if I don't, still, go to the channel. Go to the channel, The Real Rich Bees, on YouTube, and you'll see the Level Decision-Making Framework. That would be a great video to listen to after this one, because you have to learn how to make better decisions. Decisions that make a difference for you, not just making a better decision in general, making a better decision for you, your values, the things that you hold dear. That's what you need to look at that video for, right? Because I don't want to make a decision that might be good for somebody else. I don't want to make a decision that somebody else made that was good for them. I want to make a decision that's good for me, because I don't want to go back in circles. I don't want my life to keep going into circles. I want to get out of the circle. I want to go in a straight line toward my goal. And that's going to take me making decisions that are worth it for me. So go back, listen to that Level Decision-Making Framework that I created. It's on the YouTube. It's free, bro. You got to watch it, right? It's free. Go ahead and watch it. It'll be worth your time, all right? So with that being said, you know who it was. You know who it always will be. It's Rich Bees, The Real Rich Bees. Hey, tell a friend to tell a friend. Follow your mans, Rich Bees, The Real Rich Bees, on YouTube, Twitch, and TikTok. That's how you find me on all of the social medias. Hit me, Rich Bees. You know what it is. See you on the next one. This has been fun. And to me, it's been enlightening. Why has it been enlightening? Because risk will always exist. You just have to figure how to make the right decision to take the right risk. Appreciate you. This is Rich Bees.